We were too proud. We thought we were so smart, and we thought we were so, you know, we could
We
do
learned the
this.
hard
We
way.
learned the hard
Yeah.
way. I
Yeah.
wish we had gone and gotten a mentor early
Mm-hmm.
on, somebody
Mm.
who could say, maybe
I've
even
been
say,
through this.
not even that. I don't know. I've never heard of this before. I've never done this, but let's consider the possibilities.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
I'm Julie B, and they don't teach this in business school. Hey there, I'm Julie B, and you're watching They Don't Teach This in Business School, a podcast where we discuss business ownership lessons that are learned through experience, not in a classroom or seminar. Today, I'm really excited to welcome to the show Serge and Mary Krikorian, the owners of Vibrant Occasion Catering. I'm so looking forward to this episode because they have so much experience in this industry and in business in general that I know we're going to learn a lot of valuable business ownership lessons. So, Serge, Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
We're excited.
Awesome. So why don't we just start off with tell us a little bit about your business and your roles in the business.
Go for it.
Okay. So we started our first business in 1994. We were both fresh out of grad school. I had my law degree and he had his MBA.
Mm-hmm.
And we got our degrees with the thought that we're going to open our own business. And when we came out, the only thing that we could afford was this broken down carry-out delivery pizza restaurant. So it was everything we could beg, borrow, or steal to get into it.
And we did all that, by the way.
Yeah.
And got into it, and we thought that we knew everything we needed to know to run a business because we had graduate degrees. We did pretty well. We ended up taking that one to the top 1% in the nation for independent carry-out delivery pizza restaurants. And then we thought, well, we're it. We got it. So we opened up a dine-in restaurant and failed spectacularly. We did it big. We completely failed at dine-in. So we came back out into carry-out and delivery. And we were sitting in a ball field watching our oldest son play baseball in 2002.
2002.
2002. Yeah. And one of the moms looked at me and said, "Hey, can you cater a lunch for me tomorrow?" And we're like, "Okay, we can do that."
And you would think, it's a pizza restaurant. What would Mary pick as a menu?
Tamales.
Pizza.
We haven't done before.
But we did that, and our catering business just exploded overnight. I mean, to the point that we ended up shutting pizza down. We moved into a different space that was more suitable for the catering equipment. And he and I would come in every day. We would cook, we would deliver, set up, come back, prep for the next day. And we'd be done by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when our kids headed to the ball field.
Which was
we had
really
three
perfect.
boys.
Yes, it was really perfect. We didn't work on the weekends, and at the time it was all corporate, and we really, it just really was fit where we can spend the time with our families and making sure we're raising our kids right.
Yeah.
And so it worked out real well.
It worked out real well. So we grew corporate catering pretty big, and as the boys got bigger and were able to fend for themselves more, we started doing weddings. We started doing bigger events, nighttime events, weekend events. And in 2017, we realized that the name that we were catering under, Dinner's Ready, which has a whole nother long story to why we were catering Dinner's Ready, wasn't matching the level of service that we were providing for our weddings. And so we launched Vibrant Occasions Catering. And really, that was a hard decision because we were afraid that we were going to lose more Dinners Ready before we picked up Vibrant Occasions. And the public just grabbed hold of Vibrant Occasions and just pulled it forward. So we're here now. It was a great decision in 2017. Now we have about 40 full-time staff members.
Wow.
And another 30 to 40 that we can pull part-time staff members on the weekends.
So I have a question for you. So you had the takeout pizza delivery and it was going gangbusters. And then you tried to do dine-in, which failed spectacularly, as you said. And then you started the catering business, which kind of sounds like it blew up overnight. My question is, because I don't, overnight success is one of those like things that you hear. And I'm wondering do you think if you had not had the failure, would you have had the success in the catering business?
Absolutely not. Oddly enough, I mean, I would honestly say it's because of our failure. Now that I've been through it, at the time, I was really in a bad place. But going through it made me learn a lot more about business. Made us also realize what we're good at and what we're not good at, and so as soon as and learn from the mistakes that we made. And when we came back on the other side and realized, hey, just because you're doing something, you think you're doing it right,
Mm-hmm.
as long as as long as you don't pivot or make decisions fast enough to try to accommodate what's going on in your market, uh, it's not going to work. And we realized it from day one, really and truly. We realized it from day one, or at least the first couple of weeks, that this is not a good concept, and
Mm-hmm.
we needed to make changes. But I was too proud as a person, and I
Mhm.
really was, and so was me. We were going, we're invincible.
Yeah,
There's no
we
way
had
we're going to
such
fail at
great
this.
success up
Yeah,
until that point. We must know what we're
yeah.
doing, and the public's wrong.
Yeah, and we were on the merry-go-round, and
Yeah.
yeah, and but once we got off the merry-go-round, we realized all the mistakes that we really made, and we learned from them, and we launched Vibrant or Dinner's Ready at the time,
Mm-hmm.
the right decisions
Yeah.
based on the market we were in.
And the merry-go-round is a really good analogy because when you're on a merry-go-round, you don't really realize how fast you're spinning. And when you step off of it, you realize that you've been spinning round and round in circles without actually getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And when we shut down the big restaurant and we came back out into carry out delivery pizza, we say we stepped off the merry-go-round and we began to see things because when you're in the whirlwind of a business cycling down, it's hard to get perspective
Yeah,
on
Yeah.
how to fix it.
Well, there's a lot of emotions and feelings, like you were saying, Serge, the failure, it's really hard to get perspective when you are in that state of mind of, what am I doing wrong? How can I be wrong? It's not us, it's them. But eventually, you get to the point of maybe it is us. Maybe this isn't what we need to do. But I mean, that's a hard thing to accept as a business owner. And I think it really speaks to your drive and perseverance to be willing to start a business, a totally different business, a second time, because I mean you did that once and it didn't work out, but you did it. Then you went on to the catering side of things, and it's obviously worked out very well for you. So that's commendable for sure.
thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm really curious as to, you guys have you have a lot of employees. You've been doing this for a long time. What is your favorite part about being a business owner?
We have embraced as a company heart leadership,
Mm,
which means that it's a statistic that if you have two good friends in the business that you work in your job, if you have two good friends at your job,
hmm.
you're 96% more likely to be happy in your life,
Hmm.
not your work life, but
Yeah.
your life. So heart leadership promotes friendships and interactions and things among the staff because happy staff translates into happy guests and happy clients. You've been into a restaurant where the waiter's not in a good mood and it just ruins your whole dining experience. And we actively promote a culture that if somebody's having a bad day, we don't expect them to leave their
Hmm.
bad day at the door when they come in. We just expect them to let us try to help it become a better day for them. You
Yeah.
know,
And in return, it's paid dividends. I mean, since COVID, and I would say this, since day one of COVID, we've only lost 3 employees. That's 2.5 years now, I think. But that's just
and
really good.
two of
Two of them,
one became a paralegal, and the other one became a school teacher,
Wow.
and
and the third one probably needed to go.
and
Yeah.
You know,
So talk to me a little bit about like how you talk about heart leadership, but how do you all live that every single day? How do you all make sure you're embodying it and make sure that your employees are as well? What does that look like on a daily basis?
okay. It's well. Before I go to let's go backtrack. It starts with our core values.
Yeah.
Okay, core values are not with us. It's not just 5 words or 6 words or 8 words that we wrote 5, 6 years ago
Hmm.
and put it on a wall and said, "Hey, these are our core values." The core values came from the leadership, and we've had a lot of we sat down because before then, yes, it was influenced by me, but a few years back we said, "Okay, let's get the core values that who we want to be as a team." And our leadership came up with it with 5 core values, and then we live basically by them.
We do. We have weekly staff lunches called Culture Club, where we eat together, we laugh together. There's always a game or activity. They're silly sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, we've had scavenger hunts. We've played games. We have decorated Christmas ornaments, that kind of thing. And we also have our lunch and learn where, you know, we try to teach the core values and teach what we mean. And we have what we call kindness comments. If a staff member sees another staff member doing something above and beyond, they can write a kindness comment to that staff member and it gets read out loud to everybody at the Culture Club lunch.
Wow.
So that that person gets recognition for having done something and it gets tied back to one of our 5 core values. Here's, you know, I saw so-and-so do a really creative ad piece that ties back to our core value of innovation. So, and then we have, I don't know if you can see, we have the mascot of our Culture Club is a chameleon.
I got one too.
Chameleon. The chameleon is because back in the 80s there was a band called Culture Club that sang Chameleon. So that's
from the 80s.
I was going to ask you a very important question. If you actually ever play Culture Club at Culture Club.
It's on a regular basis.
On YouTube and all of a sudden just hit that button
and everybody starts dancing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
The other part of it that we did when we first started the Heart Leadership is that we did a personality test. The one that we chose was the Enneagram, which has 9 different personality types, and that's the 9 different colors on our mascot. They're the 9 different personalities coming together in one entity and working together. But the personality test taught us that just because I'm very clear in my own head what I'm saying, and I think that I'm conveying it in a reasonable way, doesn't mean that the person who's hearing it hears it the way I have it in my head. And that has opened our eyes to allow staff to say to each other, what I just heard you say is that what you really meant to say to me? Yeah. And it de-escalates things before they become an issue.
I mean, we'll give you a classic example. The tech young lady, Mia, she was on vacation. The police don't fire because you know and we used to laugh about it and thinking that, you know, how silly is that? And then we realized after we took the Enneagram, we realized, hey,
she's serious. She's concerned
that joke anymore.
She's concerned that we can do without her for a week, so we can do without her for forever. In her mind.
Wow.
Having learned how to communicate and how to interact with each other in our.
And we make the Enneagram test available. We pay for it for any of our staff, even if they just work 2 weekends a month, because it allows us to know how to communicate with that person better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Julie V, and you're watching They Don't Teach This in Business School. I'm here today with Serge and Mary Krikorian, and we are talking about culture, literally the Culture Club, and communications, Enneagrams, all the good stuff behind the scenes of a business owner. So I'm gonna switch gears here a little bit. I want to talk to you guys about burnout, and I'm just curious if in your career as entrepreneurs and business owners, have you all ever experienced burnout in that career?
Absolutely. I mean, mine are very, very short periods of time because of who I am. And when we realize that we just say, okay, we're going for what we can and just
Serge and I are not travelers in the sense that we like to go and do things. We like to go and sit.
On a beach.
We spent a week. We spent a week in Denver, sitting in a cafe, writing new menus. It was a different location. It was a different perspective. It was a different view, and it energized us to get out of it. But I think the biggest burnout was when we lost the big restaurant. I think we both, the depression that sets in with such a spectacular failure, it was hard to keep putting one foot in front of the other at that point, but you have to.
We had to,
we had staff that depended on us. You know, it's like when COVID hit, we didn't know how, but we knew that we had a responsibility to make sure that the staff members could take care of their families, because we invite them into our family. We call ourselves a work family, and you can't have a work family. And when things get tough, say, sorry, you're out of the family now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we actually purchased a mobile kitchen.
That's one of our, yeah.
Yeah, that we operated as a food truck because it gave our cooks something to cook. It
Mm-hmm.
gave our catering
Mm.
staff something to work in. We never made any money with it, but thank goodness with the government help, it bled slowly.
Yeah.
You know?
I
So,
got
but
it.
it
Yeah.
allowed us to give the people that needed the hours that they needed to take care of their families, and that was very important to us.
Yeah. And you mentioned, it's interesting, you mentioned at the beginning of that going to Denver and having time to write new menus when you were there. And what I often, when I'm working with business owners who are going through burnout, one of their first reactions is like, I don't have the time to deal with it, or I don't have the, time on my calendar. And if that's the case, what I usually say is I usually ask them to figure out other ways to make space from just a location perspective. And that sounds like one thing that you did there, because it's amazing how when you, even if you're going to work, if you go work somewhere else, sometimes that can really help business owners, make space, and, they come up with ideas or see things differently when they're in a different environment. So thanks for bringing that up, because I think that's a really important point that doesn't get talked about enough in this whole world of business ownership.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, and I want to say this, we are in a, and I hate to use this word, but we were in a situation where there was a great resignation,
Mm-hmm.
and then I believe that there is a revolution,
Mm-hmm.
and as employers, we have to look at the way the Gen Zs want to work, and we have to look at the way the millennials want to work, and make sure we adapt to that, so that we have a successful means of, because the talent is there. Like you said, I have a young lady that's what our marketing,
Mm-hmm.
social media. She only wants to work 36 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 36 great hours instead of 40, and I'm happy with that. And sometimes she wants to work from the
Yeah.
house because,
Mm-hmm.
like, anytime there's a storm, she's uncomfortable being
Mm-hmm.
here. She goes home, and that's great. And that's what we got to do as employers for
Yeah.
us to be able to stay successful.
Looking at benefits differently has
Yeah.
even made a difference, because us as an older couple, we want insurance, we
Mm-hmm.
want retirement, we want
Yeah.
the traditional benefits. But my people who are under 26 are still covered by their parents' insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Health insurance doesn't do anything
Thing
for
for them.
them,
Yeah.
but contributing to their student loan debt does.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a different benefit where we meet the employees' needs instead of what we consider what they should have.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point about, the younger generations. Every generation has a different need and how they communicate and how they want to work and all of that. But because of the world we live in, I think it's like always in our faces, and it's at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. And there's a reason there's been a great resignation, is that I don't think companies have caught up to where, people are. And then I actually just interviewed a woman who called it the great rethink, where people are just rethinking how they work and what they're doing. And then you've got the Great Revolution. So there's all the rewords coming up today for me, but it's all coming together, and down to, as an employer, as a leader, you've got to really know your people. You've got to know what they want, what motivates them, how they communicate, I think, to effectively lead. And that's just the new way to be a really effective leader in the world we live in.
And recognizing what they do for the company.
Oh, yeah.
And how vital they are to the company,
Mm-hmm.
And giving them that recognition in front of their peers
Mm-hmm.
has been really revolutionizing for us. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's changed. If I tell you we did a 180 pivot in our culture and our environment when we embraced the heart leadership,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an overstatement.
It's not. I mean,
Yeah.
and the newer generation, we have something that we call as a mindset. And the way the mindset is,
Make it vibrant every day.
and we learned that from another catering company, because they do make it better every day. So we came up with the My Butts, and you give them something because they did, for example, somebody came and helped unload, and that's not their responsibility, but they happen to see some, team member unloading a van full of catering, and they give them that one my buck, which is equivalent to a Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Now that can translate to
it goes all the way up to a half day of paid vacation off. They can save up their my bucks.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a swag store. They can get shirts, they can get hats, they can get pins, they can get snacks, all that kind of stuff. They can turn their my bucks in and get.
And that's people want to be recognized. And
yeah.
The little things that you do for them is very important as a company.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to, for both of you, what do you think is the most important role for you at the business?
My role has changed drastically,
yeah.
and I find myself now is trying to be the innovator and the motivator more than anything else. We're my fun title is Chief Inspiration Officer, and that's what I try to do. Try to inspire people. Just give them the free reins. It's amazing. We have an innovation hour that anybody can use, like come up with a new idea,
a new recipe, a new advertising campaign, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, and that's what my role is. And I do. My other side of that is I do control the finances, which is something completely reversal because she's done finances for all these years. But that's how my role has changed in the company.
Yeah.
People ask how we work together, and we've worked together since '94. We're weird. We're very weird. Yeah. We share a table as a desk.
She's the weirder one, by the way.
we share a table as a desk in our shared office. We have a love seat at home that we sit next to each other in, so that we can hold hands. I mean, we've been married for 35 years. But when people see us, they're like, how can you work with your spouse?
Yeah.
And we do completely different things. I explain it like, Serge is up here above the forest and he can see the trees and he can plot a course through the forest, but his attention span is about this long. That's the truth. He can see the path and he gives me a path and I go down and hack down the trees, and I bring my staff with me to help me clear the trees to get from his point A to his point D as quickly as we can. And, the only thing I have to control him is because when he has a thought in his mind, he wants it done yesterday.
I've gotten better.
He has gotten better, but he frustrates my staff with that. And I told you at 8 o'clock this morning, it's now 8:23. Where is this? And they're like, wait a minute.
We hadn't drank our coffee yet.
We hadn't had our cup of coffee. Go away. And so that kind of is a filter between him, because having been together so long, he picks up a conversation in his head halfway through verbally to me. And I know what he's saying because I know how he thinks now and I translate.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I do. And I am also the head of sales.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. My fun title is the voice. I am the voice of the company. I'm the one that people talk to when they're trying to hire our services.
Yeah, and it's really important. I mean, you all are an anomaly because I don't see a lot of spouse teams or even two friends that are going into business, or but the married side of it, and you guys are with each other all, you work together, you've got your life together, and you've got your business. That is a lot, and the fact that you've been able to do it for so long. And I'm sure there's been moments of, we can't do it this way anymore, something has to change here, and then you make those changes. But just, I think it all comes back to how much you all stress communication. I mean, that the Enneagram with your people and knowing how to help them talk with each other and have better communication, that started with how I'm sure you all talk to each other and have better communication with each other.
It does. Yeah, we 35 years. Serge likes to tell people 27 great years.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's a reality of it.
That's a reality. Sometimes you love each other and you don't like each other very much, and sometimes you like each other, but you're not really sure if you're still in love. And
the good times, if you like each other,
love each other at the same time.
That's the sweet spot. That's impressive that you guys can have that. as when you're business partners and life partners. It's really, yeah, it's really commendable. So Mary and Serge, as we're wrapping up the conversation today, I always ask business owners this question. If you were going to teach a class to future entrepreneurs or people who are interested in business ownership, what is the one thing you would want them to learn from your class?
But I would say two things.
Yeah.
One, we've talked about a lot, which is part leadership.
Yeah.
Um,
And the other is, school tends to teach you there's a right answer and there's a wrong answer, and there's no in between. And when you get out in the real world, what you realize is it's not black and white; it's all shades of gray. And you can't know that this particular decision is absolutely right and that one is absolutely wrong. You have to make the best decision for yourself. And I think it's important for young business people. We were too proud. We thought we were so smart, and we thought we were so, we could.
We learned the hard way.
We learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I wish we had gone and gotten a mentor early on, somebody who could say, maybe even say, not even that. I don't know. I've never heard of this before. I've never done this, but let's consider the possibilities.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Based on my experience and your experience, maybe we can figure something better out. And we really didn't know that until the next generation started coming at us, going, what do you think? How do you think? Should we do this or that? And, when you have a detached perspective, it's easier to see things more clearly, kind of like the merry-go-round. When you get off the whirling, it's easier to have a perspective than when you're actually emotionally involved with the decision-making process. So it would have been great. It would have been great to know that there's no right or wrong answer. It'd been great to know to have a mentor, and it would have been great to know that your employees are your most valuable asset of any business. The employees are the ones that can make it or break it, and you have to treat them that way.
Those are all just really valuable lessons that, sometimes you learn them, sometimes you can learn them a little bit, but a lot of those I feel like you have to go through experience-wise. But I think that point about getting a mentor who could, give you that information, at least that you were told. I think part of what I've learned is, I feel like I've made mistakes that I've just had to go through. But what has been helpful for me is that other people have kind of warned me that a mistake might be coming. So even though you have to kind of go through it for yourself sometimes, if you recognize when it's happened and you're like, oh, that's what so-and-so was talking about that one time I had lunch with her, then you can, I think you can course correct a little bit more quickly. And I think that's where the mentorship is really beneficial as well.
Yeah. We were told not to go into the big restaurant, by the way. We were told,
of course.
Don't do it. And, we're like,
we've got this.
I don't know what they're talking about.
And then you learned.
And then we learned, it changed our life.
Yeah.
When we
to the better. In reality,
it made us, when we stepped off the merry-go-round, we realized that our children, when we went home, everybody went to their own separate room. When probably about a month after we shut it down,
it was a defining day.
I woke up and my kids are sitting in the same room where we are. And I just started bawling because I couldn't remember the last time. And so in my living room, when my boys were growing up, there were 3 TVs. There was the TV I was watching, which was the one with sound. There was the TV they were watching, which was generally sports. And there was the TV they were playing games on.
Yeah.
But we did it all in the same room.
And that was changed for us.
Yeah. Which we would not have gotten to had we not failed in the big restaurant.
Mary, Serge, this conversation has been great. I just want to thank you for being on this show again today. It's been a wonderful journey. It's been wonderful to hear your journey, to get it documented, and for you to share the lessons that you've learned along the way. So thank you for being on the show.
We're excited to be here. Thank you.
And that is it for this episode, but stay tuned because I'll be back soon with more lessons learned on the business owner's journey. I'm Julie B., and they don't teach this in business school.